Welcome, this is Suzanne Clegg, and this is the teaching portion of a group distance healing. And the healing process has already begun. Some of you are here live for the healing, and some of you may be watching the recording later. And either way, this portion is complete. Nothing as special is required of you here, and you don't have to do this right. You don't have to believe anything, and you don't even have to understand everything I say. Listening is sufficient. So a lot of us have a tendency to approach healing in the same way we approach fixing a problem. With healing, it's like, okay, I've got this problem. Let me fix my attunement. If I align my beliefs enough, this will work. So we busily align our beliefs. Or we rely on effort. So maybe we have a spiffy technique and we just, we try it harder and harder and harder and harder because it's given us results before, or it's given other people results before. So we just keep kind of hammering it. And then sometimes we just use our chi, like out of our hands, and we try to like put the healing into people. And this is strengthening and fortifying, but it's not the same as what I'm teaching. There's actually none of these are wrong. Belief, effort, technique, they all have a place. But they all put us in a management role. And that actually bypasses healing. And it actually skims over the surface and you just walk right over the healing that was right there. So any management or directing that I do is fleeting, momentary, which is the same as fleeting, respectful, knowing that I don't know how to make your biology stop its disease process, not consciously, and invitational, super respectful of who I'm attempting to catalyze healing with. So let me break that down a little bit. Think about a good cook. So a good cook doesn't blindly follow a recipe step by step and just hope for the best. They're watching the process. And yes, I get it. We all have to do step by step just to begin. And that's why if you're here and you don't know steps on healing, that's fine, because I do, and I'm doing them. So it's okay for you just to listen. And then as you get more comfortable, you can learn some steps. But this inner attitude, this inner gesture is so foundational that it precedes any technique, any steps. Okay, and it can help you connect to the healing process immediately. All right, back to the cook. So say you have a cook, you're a cook, and what you're doing is you notice how the egg whites are beginning to coagulate. Or you notice how the salt is changing the texture and the taste of the food. Or you notice when the browning is happening too fast or too slow. And you notice the changes that happen when you add acid, when you add heat, when you add fat, when you add water. All these things you're just noticing. And then it's almost as if by magic you go, oh, let me turn down the heat a little bit. Or like, oh, that's not quite enough fat. Or you taste it and like, that's not enough salt. That's from feedback. That's not from the recipe. The step-by-step recipe gets you in the ballpark, but we all know people that follow the recipe, and it's a completely different result. All right. Now, cooking is a chemical process, right? It's technically a lot simpler than a healing process with a living system. but even there, even with this chemical process, a good cook observing the nuances, responding in real time, often results in amazingly good food. And if you're not observing nuance, if you're just like, okay, let me do this, let me do that, and then like, oh, it doesn't taste very good, I guess I'm not a good cook, that's doesn't lead to good food. Yeah. So let's compare that to healing. So living systems, like healing your sweet animal, your sweet dog that has cancer, bringing healing energy to it. I don't mean like curing, but healing, activating the natural healing forces in a body. Living systems are vastly more complicated than cooking, I would say. There are just countless variables we can't control, and never will. With all due respect to science and being able to do this, and I get that you can observe it, removing, having controls and things like that, I totally get that. But it seems like every time you limit a variable, you just get 5,000 more. But fortunately, healing doesn't ask for rigid execution. Real healing. Research might, but healing doesn't. It's not so directly cause and effect. And I actually learned this deeply from William Bengston. I was an acupuncturist, and I would insert needles, and so that was the cause, and I would expect certain effects. I would monitor the tongue, the pulse, the temperature of various body parts, and I would manipulate it. And that's what a good acupuncturist knows how to do. But what I'm talking about here is something like distance healing, where you're not even present with somebody, but we try to, sometimes we just have this tendency to carry over our physical skills into the world of healing. And I'm not saying that you can't approach healing scientifically and that there isn't any cause and effect, but it doesn't mean the process is too complicated. It just simply asks for a different attitude because it's so complicated. And the attitude that I find most helpful is humble attention and responsiveness. Yeah. Just humility, attention, and responsiveness. So healing is not something that you, the healer, make happen. It's not even something you, the healee, make happen if you're the one that wants to be healed. It's something you stay in relationship with. It's intimate. So when you're cooking, you notice the eggs coagulating, you notice the food browning in the pan, you notice these things. In a living system, the amount of feedback that you can gather from any moment is explosive. It's just on and on and on and on. It's just, it feels infinite to me. And it shifts from moment to moment. And it responds differently depending on where it started, where it is right now, and how we meet it. So the skill that matters most is not inner alignment. It's not belief that we're doing the right thing. We're not a steadfast, positive attitude. I mean, that's good hygiene, good mental hygiene, but, like blocking out anything negative, I would say, is counterproductive. Or effort applied to a technique. So I often do the Bengston Method when I'm working with people. And one of the things I train my clients with is how to get out of doing it right and just to get curious about how you're doing it. And this happens like in the first or second session. It's not something you do after you've, put in 100 hours. It's foundational. This curiosity, this intimacy with the process, this contact with the healing process that we can observe, but we usually overlook. Okay, so that might sound very abstract. Like cooking you can relate to because you can see it and you can smell it. But distance healing, what do we do? So let's do a brief exercise, and I hopefully will take this out of abstract land into something more that you can feel is like, oh, this is going to be useful for me. All right? It's actually profoundly simple and effective. So just for a moment, I want you to pick something simple to notice. I'm going to let's try 3 things, and then you'll pick from that. So first of all, we'll just spend like 5 seconds on each one, and then you'll be able to pick which one is pulling at you. So let's just notice your breath. And notice that you can be aware of your breath. You can notice that some inhales are different than others. Exhales are different. Your posture affects it. Maybe you want to take a big breath of air because you're paying attention to it. Like there's so much to notice with breathing, right? Okay, now notice the sensation in your hands. And just notice that you can feel your fingers, you can feel your palms, you can feel the back of your hands. You can wiggle them. And if we sat here for a while, you'd notice more and more and more. So that's the second one. Now, the third one is the weight of your body on the surface that you're on. Okay? And just notice the weight of your body. Okay, now pick one of those, just one of them. Okay? And the way you pick it is intuitively. You go, oh, which one of you wants to be played with right now? Okay, so just pick one. And now I'm going to be quiet for 1 whole minute. And during that, I hope I'm quiet, or I might think of little things to say, but we'll spend a minute just paying attention to one of the following: your breath, your hands, or the weight, or your weight. Okay, go. Oh, and you're noticing for shifts and changes without trying to make them happen. Okay, go. Okay, finish up. And how was that for you? What happened all by itself that you didn't have to do? That's the super important thing. Okay? That capacity to stay present without managing is the same capacity that allows healing to organize itself. So what did I do during that minute? I didn't look at my breath or my hands or my weight. I looked at the healing of everybody who's watching this video, and I observed that inwardly. And I got some very interesting shifts. I can do the healing while I'm talking, which is what I'm doing now, but I can also pay attention to it for 1 minute more consciously. And as long as I'm not trying to make it do something, like I'm not trying to spread it out to people, I'm not trying to beam light into everybody who watches the video, I'm not trying to heart link to everybody, I'm just watching it, interested, caring. And I think I broke through, and from now on, the sessions will be even more powerful. And thank you for being here, because if you hadn't have been there, I might not have gotten that integration. And if I hadn't slowed down a little bit, that helped too. Okay? All right, so the reason I say this is foundational is that this shift in orientation is the most important part. It's not your technique. That's why there's so many, energy healing techniques. The foundational thing is learning how to stay in contact with the living process without trying to control it. I'm going to say that again. The most important part is learning how to stay in contact with the living process without trying to control it. All right. If you're watching this as a recording, you can let that orientation carry into your own healing work, whether it's helping others heal, people or animals, or helping yourself heal. And it can also help you just with anything, right? It's just a life skill that is not that mysterious. We just overlook it. We overlook it as a super powerful thing. We think, oh, this disease is really super duper bad, so I have to do something super duper effortful. And I would say we already know how to heal if we just pay attention and notice. And what do we notice? We notice whatever we notice. We don't have to be clairvoyant. We don't have to be have 40 years of experience noticing. Just being in the here and now, honest, is more powerful than, with all due respect to positive thinking and, healing your traumas and all that good stuff. I feel like honest here and now presence is the most powerful inner attitude you can have.